Hello everyone. So last week I was really happy to find out that RMS Beauty has released 3 new shades in their powder blush. And this is a powder blush formula that I think is really the best in the market. But in the past I had just been using one shade from them because I felt like it looked like all of the other shades that they were offering were much too bright for my light skin. So I'm really happy to find out that all 3 of these shades seem to work really well for me. I picked up all of them and I will be showing those to you today. In addition, I have a few more shades of products that I have really enjoyed in the past. So one of those is the RMS Eyelights, which is an eyeshadow formula that comes in these little tubes, and I picked up this greenish silver color in this. In addition, I picked up 3 new shades of the Rituel Fille Eye Soots, so I'll be showing those to you. In addition, there's a few lipstick products that have come out that I'm really happy about. One of my favorite lip products is the Glossier Ultralips, and they came out with 2 new shades, and I think both of those are really terrific. And I also have 2 new red lipsticks. One is from Violet FR, and one is from Eldridge. So yesterday I shot some footage and some good natural light of all of these products in 4 different looks, so I will be showing those all to you today. So first, a little bit of information about me. I'm 59 years old and I have dry and sensitive skin. In addition, I prefer to spend only about 5 minutes a day putting on makeup. So I try to find products that work really, really well for me without a lot of potential for error and that do not irritate my very sensitive skin. And over the past 2 years, I've tried out more than 1,000 makeup and skincare products. So I share the information that I've gained on this channel, so hopefully you can zero in on the products that will work better for you as well. So let's talk a little bit about each of these products and then I will try them on for you. So the first one is from RMS, and RMS is a company that was founded in 2009 by Rosemary Swift, who is a makeup artist, and she did a lot of work for instance, Victoria's Secret, so she was fairly well known in the industry, but she had very sensitive skin herself, and she found that some of the models that she worked with also had sensitive skin. So she developed a line of products that she thought would work really well and that were designed specifically to use natural ingredients and to be non-irritating. So she was really a pioneer in terms of the whole clean beauty movement. In 2020, she's getting older, and so she sold her firm to an investment company, and since then she has remained a spokesperson for the company, but she is not the CEO anymore. And so since that time, the company has released a number of new products that go beyond what Rosemary Swift was offering in terms of using more like clean synthetic type ingredients and also using things that are more like essential oils. And some of those products have not worked for me at all, but others have worked for me really well. So the one that has worked for me the best are these powder blushes. So these are called the RMS ReDimension Hydra Powder Blush, and these were introduced at the beginning of 2022, and at first they were available in just 6 shades. So I bought one of these products called Maiden's Blush, and I really like this product because I felt like it was kind of at the intersection between being a bronzer and a highlighter and a blush. So it's a little bit on the brownish side, but has a bit of pinkishness to it, and it has a little bit of highlighting to it, but not too much, so it doesn't look really too shimmery for my face. And I've always felt like this is a product that I can use with pretty much anything else that I'm wearing and have it look really natural and pretty, and that it allows me to just use one product on my cheeks rather than using 2 or 3 different products to get a more sophisticated look. So I've been really happy with that, and I've used it quite often. So in addition to the color, I really like the formula for this product. So it is a powder blush, but it has a lot of moisturizing or hydrating ingredients in it that I think have been really good for my skin and make it go on really smoothly. So it contains squalane and jojoba oil and sunflower seed oil and beriti oil. And I think that it's really pretty. It's almost like I can use my fingers to put it on or to move it around. And it looks very natural on my skin, almost like a cream blush does. So I like this blush enough that on at least 20 different occasions I really thought about buying an additional shade or more than one shade. So I would put the shades in my cart and then I would go on YouTube and look at other people with light skin, and I would always come to the conclusion that these products were really too bright for me. So especially when it comes to blush, I really prefer something that's a bit more natural looking and that goes on easily without my fearing that I'm going to be overdoing it. So I think that what happened with this is that RMS only felt like they could introduce a few new shades of blush, and so they felt like if they introduced shades that were really highly pigmented, that they could be worn by all skin tones, and that they would work for people with darker skin tones, and then people with lighter skin tones could just use a lighter touch. So, and I am aware that, for instance, if you use like a fan brush, that you can use just a very small amount of a very highly pigmented blush and have it work for you. But still, my feeling is that if a blush is too pigmented, then it's a lot of trouble for me to put on, and I end up looking like the blush is too bright, and then I have to worry about adjusting it, and it's really more trouble than I want to go through if I want to spend a really minimal amount of time putting on makeup. And so therefore, I usually just skip it. So I'm therefore very happy that now I feel like there are some new shades of blush that are really designed to work well with my own skin tone, and then I don't have to worry about putting on too much of it and looking like a clown if I just go a little bit overboard with it. So the RMS blushes come in refillable containers. They are $35 for the product in the container, and if you just want the refills, then they're $28. So I have 4 shades here, and the one on the top is Kir Royale, and then the next one is Bohemian Girl, and then the one underneath that is called Crystal Slipper, and then the one under that is the blush that I had in the past that I have used quite often, which is called Maiden's Blush. So I think you can see here that the Crystal Slipper one is really just a much more muted version of the Maiden's Blush. And I do think that the other colors are a little bit more muted versions of some of the other blush colors that they already have. So if you want to take a look at the colors in the pan, this one is called Bohemian Girl. And so it is a peach color that I think is very pretty on me. And then this is Crystal Slipper, which is a kind of a brownish peach color that's sort of a terracotta but very light. And then this Kir Royale one is a mauve color that looks a lot more muted when I put it on my skin than in the pan. Now I did see on the website in terms of the ingredient list that they have another shade that it looks like maybe they're going to introduce called Bermuda Rose, so I'll be interested in seeing what that looks like as well also. So now let's talk about some of the other products that I'll be showing you. The first ones are the RMS Eyelights, which come in these little tubes. These are quite shimmery, but I feel like for me they have worked really well, especially if I use them very sheerly on my eyes. You can also put them on really thick and have them look quite metallic, but I found that they do create a very nice, pretty, and fairly subtle look for me. So originally there were 6 of these shades, and now they've introduced 3 additional ones. In addition to this green one, there's one that's a violet color, which is called Aurora, and then there's one that's called Moondust, which is a starlit champagne. And then the Glossier Ultralips is really one of my very favorite lip products, and I have all of the shades in that, and I demonstrated all of those in my Glossier video. So if you're interested in seeing what all of those shades look like, you could go back and look at that video. The 2 new versions, there's one that's called Cranberry, and then there's one that's called Pony. So the Pony one's a little more brown, and then the Cranberry one is more of a berry type shade. And these are very moisturizing lipsticks, and they feel more like a lip balm. They feel really hydrating to my lips, so I've really enjoyed using these quite regularly. And then I also like the Rituel Defeat Eye Soots. So these are eyeshadows that I use pretty much as one and done shadows. They're very clean, and I do have very, very sensitive eyes, and these have not irritated my eyes at all. But there's 3 new shades, so I will be showing you all of these. In addition, they came out with new jars, so you can actually put your fingers in the jars, And they also have a new little brush that you can use to apply this. So I do always use the brush for this. But I've found that these are very, very pretty on me, and they do have a little bit of shimmer, but not too much. And then I did a video a while back on Violet FR, and she has a new shade that's called Amour, which is a bright red in her casual lip balm that I think has worked really, really well for me. It's not too bright. And then Lisa Eldridge, I really like everything that Lisa Eldridge does. It's pricey, but I really, really like it. And she has a new shade in her velvet lipsticks, which is called Velvet Bloom, which I also think is very pretty. So I'll be trying that on as well in the good light. So in the next part of the video, I will be doing 4 separate looks. So I'm going to be using each of the RMS blush shades that I use for one of these looks. And then I'll be adding a lipstick and an eyeshadow for each of these looks. Now I'm starting out with just brows and mascara and eyeliner and some concealer on. So I think that even adding these different color products, I could still do a look like this in about 5 minutes, which is always my goal. So for my first look, here are the 3 colors that I am going to be using. So this is a bit more of a spring look. So for this first look, I'm using the new blush shade called Bohemian Girl. And this is described by RMS as being a retro sunny 70s peach. Now, I did wear a little bit of makeup in the late 1970s. I was a young teenager. I don't really remember peach being a big shade then, so I must not be remembering what was going on. In terms of this particular peach shade, it's a little bit more pink than a lot of peaches, so I think it's very wearable by a lot of people. It does have also a little bit of brownishness to it, and so I found it to be usable on both my cheeks and on my eyes. And I think that it has a moderate amount of pigment in it, but it's not nearly as much as many peach blushes, so I don't feel like I have the potential of getting way too much blush on just from 1 or 2 extra swipes. And then the eyeshadow that I'm using is from RMS. It's called Eclipse. And I find that these eyeshadows do go on better with a brush, although they say that you can also use your fingers. I think that these eyeshadows do last for quite a long time on the eyes, so if I put them on, they really do stay on my eyes all day, even if I'm not wearing any kind of a primer. And they're quite shiny. But if I put on a really thin layer and I just put it on kind of the movable part of my eyes, I think that they're not too bright and that they're very attractive both during the day or for an evening look. Now, one thing about these eyeshadows is they do dry down quite quickly, so I suggest being really careful with them, just doing one eye at a time and getting them in place before moving on to the other eye. In addition, I do think that they might have the potential of being a little bit irritating for some people. So I feel like for me there was a tiny bit of a sense of irritation when I first put them on, which tended to dissipate. But I would think that for people that are really, really sensitive, that there could be some kind of an issue with this, more so than some of the other eyeshadows that I use. Another negative for these eyeshadows is that they only have a 6-month usage life, so you should expect to use those up pretty quickly. And then the lipstick shade that I'm using is Glossier Pony, and this is described as a rosy taupe, and so far of all of the Ultralip shades, this has been really one of the most usable and prettiest ones for me. And I think this is one that I'm going to be reaching for really frequently. It's really easygoing. It has kind of a muckiness about it, so it doesn't look too bright or too dark, but I think it does give some pretty definition to my lips. Now, in all of these looks towards the end of the video, I'm putting on a lot more blush than I would probably wear in the real world, just so that you can see more what it looks like if you do put on a lot of it. Now, for look number 2, here are the colors that I am using. So I am using a red lipstick and then a much more neutral blush color and a brownish neutral eye color. So the blush color here is called Crystal Slipper, and RMS describes this as a sheer sun-kissed Buff. So this is a very muted color that I feel like can be used whenever I don't want to draw any attention to my blush. I think it's a lot like Maiden's blush, which I have used a whole lot, but it's even more muted in color. And I feel like on my skin I can get it to show up, but I do have to be a little bit generous with it. And I do like this one just because it really does serve as a very muted but pretty combination of like a blush and a highlighter and a bronzer. So when I put this on, I really don't need to worry about putting anything else on. And then the eyeshadow that I'm using here is in the color Mineralia from Rituel de Fille. So this is a very dark brown color. There's potential for you to use it as an eyeliner also, but I have found that if I use just a very small amount of it with a squat brush like this one, and then I blend it in really well, that it can look really pretty on me. And the lipstick that I have here is the new one from Violette FR in the Bisou Balm in the color Amour. So Violette Serrat is the creative director for Guerlain, which is a very, very expensive makeup house. And then she also has her own brand of makeup that is more casual and a little bit less expensive. And she creates a liquid lipstick that is very, very bright and gives kind of a French look to your lips I found to be quite challenging to put on, and also very, very bright when I do wear it. So she finally has introduced a bright red color in her casual lipsticks in the color Amour, which is Crazy Love, which is the same color that she uses for her liquid lipstick. So this is a bright lipstick, but it's not nearly as attention-grabbing as that liquid lipstick, and I find that for my complexion especially, that this one seems to work really well. So I think that from now on, when I want to put on a bright red lipstick, this is one that I'm going to be definitely considering. Now this lipstick is a little bit drying, so I made sure to put on some of the MAC Prep and Prime Lip Primer, and I find that that helps a lot. So for my third look, I picked out some shades that look a bit cooler or a little bit more purple. And usually I find that cool shades like this don't really work that well for me. But I think that all of these are muted enough and pretty enough that they kind of make a pretty look that I would especially wear if I was wearing a clothing that coordinated with that. So the RMS blush shade is called Kir Royale, and it is described as a dimensional mauve surprise, and I think it's kind of a rose pink, leaning slightly brownish purple. So I think it looks really pretty on me. I don't think it's too bright. I don't think I need to work too hard to keep from making it too bright. And I don't think that it's a problem for me at all. So I do think that I'm going to get a lot more wear out of that one than I anticipated. I was a little bit hesitant to buy it, but I'm actually really glad that I did. And then on my lips in this, I am wearing the Glossier Ultralips shade called Cranberry. So they are describing this as a crimson berry red. And I see that this is only available on the Glossier website so far, and that it went out of stock really fast. And I can see why, because it's a very, very pretty color. But I think that Glossier is planning to get this back in again. And I think it's a very nice shade for people to consider. And then the Rituel de Fille shade is called Flora, and it is called a dimensional lavender, which I think is compared to other purple eyeshadows that I have, it's very soft and kind of ethereal and not too dramatic looking, so it doesn't really clash with the rest of what I'm wearing. The eye sets, there's 15 of these in total. And this one sold out really fast when it was introduced, and now it's back in stock. So I think this is a really popular one. I also have liked a few other shades from Rituel de Fille. I really like Half Light, which is a brownish taupe, and Cultus, which is a grayish taupe with the gold shimmer. But I do think that I'm going to be getting a good bit of use out of this purple shade as well. So for whatever reason, I think that these Rituel de Fille eye soot, they tend to be really overlooked by most people. I think they're not quite as easy to put on as some of the eyeshadow sticks that I like, but I think that compared to a lot of the eyeshadows that are sold, for instance, at Sephora, these are really good quality, not that hard to put on. They are a little pricey, but they're also very gentle to my eyes. I don't think that they have ingredients in them that are really going to be problematic for really pretty much anyone. And they perform really well in terms of going on easily, and they last pretty well, I think, also. So I think that especially if you're trying to do a one and done look and you want something that's just going to be really pretty and just a little bit shimmery, but that's not going to be overdone, that these are really ones to consider. And then for my last look, I have a really bright red lipstick from Eldridge. And so I'm just using a couple of other products to support that. So this is the color palette. So for the blush here, this is the blush that I've been using ever since the beginning of 2022. This is called Maiden's Blush, and it is described by RMS as a soft cinnamon sparked with soft pink. So it's a little bit of a terracotta, and I think that this is a shade that I can really wear with anything. So if I've got a really neutral look going, I can wear this. And also if I want to wear a really bright lipstick like this red one, then this is something that adds a little bit of color to my cheeks, but that doesn't draw a lot of attention to itself. And then the eyeshadow that I'm using here, it's from Rituel de Fille. It's called Fauna. So this is described by Rituel de Fille as being a glimmering champagne rose. So I don't feel like I always do all that well with champagne colors on my eyes. I feel like they tend to be a little bit too bright and to draw too much attention to the hoodedness on my eyes. But I think this one's kind of nice. It's just a little bit pink or a little bit peachy colored, so it doesn't look overly bright, and it doesn't also look overly glittery or overly drawing too much attention to itself. And then this lipstick that I have, this is from Eldridge. This is a new limited edition lipstick called Velvet Bloom, which is part of her True Velvets line. And this is kind of a dark reddish pink color, which I find to be a little bit easier for me to wear than a true blue-red type of a lipstick, and that it actually reads fairly red on me. And I think it's a lot more pigmented than I usually wear, regardless of the color. It is very, very bright, so sometimes I put this on just with my fingers as kind of more like a stain. But I think that if I am going to wear a bright red lipstick, this has been a really good shade for me. And this is described by Eldridge as being a flourishing, nuanced pink red inspired by the ruffled blooms of an azalea. So I realized after I filmed this yesterday that this has actually just gone out of stock. At least in the lipstick, that it is still available in a lip pencil. I think that this sold out so fast that probably they'll be motivated to bring this back again. People really like it. In terms of the other colors, Eldridge has a really wide range of colors, and I feel like I can really wear any of these colors, including colors that I would never have thought that I could wear in other lipstick brands. So I think that this one is somewhere between Velvet Enchantment, which is a little bit more brown, and Velvet Pompadour, which is a little bit lighter and a little bit more pink. And I think either of those shades would work well for me also. So more often from the Eldridge line, I really like the luxuriously lucent lipsticks. Those are much more casual. They're a little bit more like the Merit lipsticks or the Glossier Ultralips, and that they feel really comfortable on my lips and I don't need to worry too much about them, and they're not that fragile. But for a really special occasion when I want a much more bright, attractive lip, I think that Eldridge True Velvets are worth having around. So thanks very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if there are makeup formulas that you really like, then I hope you will go ahead and share those in the comment section so that I can give them a try. In addition, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.